CMMS Radio talks about all things CMMS, computerized maintenance management software, focused on maintenance management. It's the people, the process, and the culture that make your CMMS journey a success. Welcome back to CMMS Radio. You see this man on screen. That is Tony Gunn. He's always on the run. He is the Worldwide Machinist. And what he does, if you don't know him, a lot of you do, he goes all around the world, throughout North America. He goes to these manufacturing facilities, these machine shops, and all these different environments that we sometimes might take for granted, not knowing how the things we rely upon are made. And he gets into what are the products and technologies that they're making, how are they making it. He's also getting into how the people are, what they care about. And when he's in these environments in different parts of the world, might be India, it could be somewhere like recently in Brazil, any place, South America, you're going to get a little flavor about the culture itself, not just the manufacturing culture, but what's happening around there. He might go out and about in the city. He might eat something wild and crazy, and you'll see him do some goofy stuff too, just to keep us entertained, maybe a little dance or something like that. You'll see him at conferences, trade shows. Tony Gunn, welcome back to CMMS Radio, my friend.
Greg, you're a friend. I appreciate you. I love watching your growth. I appreciate the introduction. You know, I sent you a check in the mail for that introduction. Did you get it?
Yeah, the bank said we don't cash 4-cent checks. No,
yeah,
I'm just
right.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, but I appreciate that. You're correct. It's a lot of fun to travel the world. It's simultaneously exhausting and both mentally, physically, spiritually. It can be a lot. But worth it. I mean, this industry is worth it. The people are worth it. Sharing people's stories. You know, I do like to eat crazy things, and sometimes I've posted about my food poison. I do like to do silly dances or sing a song, and I can't sing too well. And you know, it's an industry that's been silent for too long, invisible for too long. And I know you focus on the maintenance side of things, and we're kind of just both doing the best we can with the versions that we are to help amplify something that's incredibly important. So I really value who you are, what you're doing, your growth. I love watching your growth. Incredible. I cheer you on from the sidelines all the time, even if I'm in another time zone. And I kind of want to hear some of your story as well, Greg, because you know, you and I, if you pick my brain, we might be in trouble about some of my stories traveling around the world. But you had your first international experience semi-recently, I believe, in England. Would you mind sharing a little bit of that? We can obviously play off of each other, but I would love to hear more about that, because exciting, really, really exciting, the attention that you're getting right now and the attention you're able to give the folks who join you on your show.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate all that. I always appreciate you supporting and chiming in, and you know, I've got to watch your journey and always thinking, man, how's this guy do it? It's just running and gunning, and it's wild. So there's this great group out of Australia called the Mainstream Community. And so I focus on CMMS, which is computerized maintenance management software, but I'm really focused on the maintenance management in the middle and the people and the process, because technologies of any kind don't make any difference unless you've got those basics and those people kind of honed in and doing their thing. So the Mainstream Community is really all about community, asset management, and maintenance and reliability in particular. So they get all these different professionals from around the world that give these great presentations, essentially non-selling events, but you get all these cool sponsors and exhibitors that come in, and they reached out and said, hey, we're doing an inaugural event. We're going to finally open up the UK, and we'd love for you to come. And I'm like, well, how would that work? And they said, well, we'll fly you over, we'll put you up, and you'll just cover the show. And I said, well, I don't overproduce or anything like that. I just do pretty raw content. And they said, no, we love it. Come on over. Let's have you do it. So I said, all right, I'm going to do it. And as we build up to the trip and I'm filling out my documentation to get I forget the name of the form. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to fly on this long ass flight. And man, I don't know if I can pull this off. And, you know, I'm just being open about it, right? I'm just a regular person. So get there, do the thing, LA to Heathrow, go from Heathrow to where I'm going to stay at my hotel, which was in Notting Hill. I get there and I'm like, man, this isn't a hotel. And I tough it out and I'm sleep deprived and the whole thing. But it was a really great experience because I got to see what it's like to experience that kind of jet lag going in. I made the best of it. And if I took a nap and it turned into sleep, I would just, whenever I woke up, I'd go out and walk around. I got to see some cool parts of what we would call West London.
Mm-hmm.
And that was fun for me because I've never been in that culture. It's my second international trip of my entire life. I don't count Mexico because when you live in Southern California, you sometimes go down to Mexico when you're younger and you do a little partying. But, you know, meaning like a long trip like this. So when I finally get to Birmingham and I took the train and, I filmed some of it and I get to the venue and I get to that area, unbelievable. There's this place called Millennium Point, and right next to Millennium Point, connected to it, is what they call the think tank, the literal birth of the Industrial Revolution. No joke. The literal birthplace. And they've got all these different things from the years gone by. And that blew my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the conference experience itself was really interesting because the way it was set up and how organized they were, they did a full debrief before the opening evening for any of us that were classified as speakers or VIPs, and that was great. But then the conversations, I got to experience this different region of the world and how people think about and talk about maintenance, manufacturing, reliability. It was a really incredible experience for me. I would have to say that's probably tops for the year 2025 for me.
Mm-hmm.
I've still got content and made a lot of new friends, got to see people I work with online finally in person. That's really important. Got to have my first ever real pub experience. Zero beers
Nice.
for this kid, but it was a blast. Some different cuisine, had my proper English breakfast every day.
Nice.
Probably not the healthiest thing, but it was pretty good. So then, doing something like that and having that experience, and shout out to the mainstream community and all the people that were there that participated in the podcast or were on film when I was walking the floor. I really appreciate that. It was a great experience. Thinking of what you do, man, I mean, that's a whole different level because you'll go from country to country, then back, then you might go to 2 or 3 or 4 different states within the US, and then you're back out this country, different part of the same country, then on to another country. So I get this sense that you're not as often at home as most of us are accustomed to, right?
Oh, yeah, that's easy to say, as I'm typically somewhere between 250 and 300 days on the road per year. And I've been doing
Wow.
that now for about 14 years. Even before the media side of things, as an international consultant, I was bouncing around. I had, my first. I did it for about 10 years. My first 3 years ish was North America, a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
South America, mostly North America, and then the next 3 ish years was Europe, and then the last 3 ish years was the Asia India community. And so I kind of had a little practice before hopping on board of doing media, and kind of taking that concept and running with it, and really, really wanting the world to see what everyone else does. Now, I could stay in the U.S. and I believe in the U.S. and I support U.S. manufacturing and maintenance, much like yourself, and I believe in the concepts and ideas of reshoring and nearshoring, as you said. Mexico is pretty much home, right beside you in Southern California, but reshoring and nearshoring. But to be fair, to walk into a facility, as you mentioned earlier in this show as well, Brazil, India, Japan, Korea, Malaysia, Vietnam, all over Europe, um, and see the differences. I mean, really see the differences, not in theory, not what we've been told by somebody else, but to walk in yourself with or without a camera and experience their hardships, their nuances, their struggles, their successes, their adaptation and flexibility, their choices of machines and tooling and maintenance. And what is it that drives some countries to utilize some styles of manufacturing versus other countries? And I think there's great value in connecting like a web, the understanding for us, if you flick one side of the web, the other side's going to vibrate as well. So bringing it onto a platform as the Worldwide Machinist on YouTube just crossed 410,000 subscribers, and it continues to grow every day. But bringing it to a platform where someone can pick and choose what they want to see from anywhere in the world, and then absorb whatever makes information makes sense to them. And I also try my very best, Greg, while traveling around. And I'll get into the more chaotic part of this travel stuff in just a minute. But while traveling around, I don't ever want to be that guy that looks at the camera and says, Greg, you should buy this. This is the best. Because the best always changes, and the best isn't relevant to every shop, and the best isn't affordable to every shop. And I don't want to be that person where somebody goes, Tony, last week you told me that this was the best, and here you are telling me something else, and a month ago it was something else. I want to be an agnostic viewpoint that asks the questions that allows someone else to describe their situation that possibly could help some other companies win. Right? I don't want to point, you should buy this. I don't want to be that infomer. I will use energy. I might sound like that guy that's trying to sell that Shazam, Shawow, or whatever it was with my energy from time to time.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't want to tell people to do things. I want it to be agnostic and unbiased and let them make their own decisions. I want to be a storyteller. I want to open the doors of a factory that's never been opened before and tell that story with them.
Yeah, that's well, and I happen to know I saw something recently where you were talking about one of your favorite things ever, going all the way back to your wee little youth, is show and tell, and because there's a curiosity there, and for me, when it comes to, like, for example, CMMSradio, I try my best to be agnostic. I might have some favorites out there. I've got real deal pro friends that are part of my close core network that have the high integrity that I know it's really good for me to have people work with them and connect with them, because I know I'm not going to lose any sleep over it because they're going to get actual help. And I work with other companies that I may or may not like favor, but I'm here for the industry. But when you talk about this opportunity to, with curiosity and kind of unabashed, no attachments, come in and showcase an environment, the people at that environment, the machines, how they do what they do. And that might resonate with one person. And yes, 410,000 followers and climbing. I mean, congrats on that. But the more the merrier. I think what we're really talking about here, both of us, is we want you to have a better awareness. You're not going to get that from reading a website. You're not going to necessarily get that from dealing direct with that company. But when you have that third party that's in there kind of asking the questions just off the cuff, without this idea that, oh, I got to make this so that they buy. It's about awareness, and it gives people an opportunity to know that company, who they are, why they are, and how they are. And that's a real thing that comes through in storytelling. It doesn't involve scripts. It doesn't involve perfection, and it requires energy. And what's really important is that you have realness and authenticity. So whether you're showing people where and how something is made, or who makes the machines that make the things, or that make the things that make the other machines, or I'm over here talking about, well, how can we maintain that? And I bring in maintenance and reliability professionals, and I try to get those stories from the people that really know, or I talk about technology. These are all tools, and we want to build that awareness. Now, you have an actual background in machining where you were, I think, in the environment doing the work for, I think it was about 12 years.
Wow, great memory. And yeah, 12 years. Nicely done.
Well, and because I had you on once before and we've talked several times, but I know the impetus to that, there's a backstory in the previous episode, how you got into the machine shop environments and kind of started and climbed the ladder. But if we fast forward to today, over these last several years that you've been doing this, getting out there, gathering the stories, doing some onstage presentations and like keynote sessions that help people find inspiration in the way they move through life, whether it's manufacturing, the technology, or anything like that. What would you say? This, I don't know if it's an easy question, like really drives you to keep doing this? Because it's a lot more work than people would think.
I actually love this question. Super glad you asked it. I realized, and I've told this story once or twice, but I don't think anywhere as popular as your podcast, but I've told this story once or twice. When I was young, I chased power. You know, I was a troublemaker. I wanted to be a leader. I wanted occasionally to hurt people, and I felt bad for that later. But you know, I chased power. When I got to my late 20s, early 30s, I chased money. And I made a lot of it. I got into a couple of roles that gave me a lot of money and a lot of stress. And that didn't make me happy either. And along this journey, there's been lots of different paths that have been walked. It's certainly not straight. Nobody's is. It's been a zigzag and a backwards and a step forwards and a to step to. It's like what are some of those dances, right? To the left now, y'all. You know, it's like all sorts of different directions. Nothing's even close to straight. But I realize that I'm always happiest when I'm of service to others, when I can help. And I launched a natural healing company, and we gave all of the proceeds to 14 different charities for a while. I support a couple of orphanages in different parts of the world. And I realized that just I am happiest when I am helping. And when I am happiest, the other stuff will come. Leadership will be involved, money might be there, you know, but it's not what I would chase. Some people do, and maybe that makes them happy. But for me, it's being of service. So when I first, and you were right, 12 years in the machine shop, 10 years in consulting, saw a lot of stuff, worked with the head engineer. I mean, I was considered, you know, top 5% in the world of understanding how to machine precious metals. I ran think groups and company improvement committees and R&D facilities. I ran and programmed probably somewhere in the realm of, you know, 75 to 100 different machines. But I only, you know, you don't know what you don't know. And I didn't know once I stepped into the consulting role how big this world is, and at the same time, you know, very, very small. And I worked with the head engineer. I was always the stupidest person in the room, Greg, but I worked with the head engineers at all of the big names that you might mention, you know, Boeing, Airbus, NASA, Facebook, Google, Tesla, SpaceX, Nike, I mean, Apple, Samsung, the list goes on and on and on. And also in people's garages, you know, there's two machines and somebody's just getting started, and did a lot of consulting work in places around the world like this. Along this journey, service has always made me happiest. And when I can help someone bring in more work or help someone understand something better to help them improve, give someone a voice that they're proud of when they click on the interweb and they see their face and like, man, I was nervous at first, but I really thank you for doing this, you know. And you know, there's macro and micro versions of this version of gratitude, right? The small one is I got to meet someone that made me a better version of myself, that made me smile, that I got to help out. But on the bigger version, the bigger scale is we're ultimately helping an industry that makes everything around us with these words, with these stories, with these voices that has typically been invisible or silent. And having something as important as what we would all consider the backbone of every economy around the world be forgotten or dismissed or even looked down upon as it's just a bunch of misfits who can't go to university. Everyone who's successful goes to university, and yet we're proving that it's quite the opposite of that. And these people are absolutely brilliant, and we can bring this to the surface of awareness for all these jobs that are being taken by AI. They're not coming for the plumber's jobs or the welder's jobs or the electrician's jobs or the machinist jobs. They're taking the cubicle jobs. You know, so if we can bring this awareness back to honor something that's so very important, what's a doctor without all of the medical devices that the humans have made for them, the machinists have made for them? Thank you, doctors, for being a doctor. Thank you for making me better, certainly as I'm getting older. But at the same time, if it's not for machinists making those components, when we go in there, it's a stick in a rock you're hitting me with to try and figure out what's going on, you know? So while I appreciate all the aspects, and I definitely am not anti-university, I am just saying we all have a different fit and let's respect one another. So that's a really long way to say being of service makes me happiest, and I think this industry deserves more of a voice.
Well, and that's all well said. And I think this is something where there's much more to be said. There is kind of typical messaging that's on repeat, and some people might be sick of hearing it. But what's really interesting to me is I think a lot of us, and when I say us, I'm going to unfairly or without permission group myself with a lot of really huge global voices. You know, I mean, like the big guys, maybe even like a Mike Rowe or somebody like that, are talking about where we're starting to see some of a transition back towards adoption of embracing of the skilled trades, where youngsters and high schoolers and even college students are moving towards the skilled trades because it's being less frowned upon, as you mentioned. And we need our university educated people, our junior college educated people, and we need our skilled trades persons, because I'm of the belief that tradespeople are really happy being of service and fixing these things and solving problems. And tradespeople are on the front lines when it comes to these manufacturing environments as well. And some of those tradespersons in the skilled trades are maintenance technicians. They might become maintenance managers and other different aspects of a manufacturing facility, like the MRO storeroom. They have all these kind of experiences that apply to keeping those lines running, keeping those machines running, maintaining a CNC lathe. It's not going to maintain itself. And it's not at a point right now where the robots are going to do those types of things. It's, maybe someday, and you're going to need those people, but we have to kind of cultivate this messaging and keep it going, because the more the resurgence happens, the closer we get to solving the problem when it comes to lack of. If we talk about reshoring in manufacturing specifically, reshoring in manufacturing is going to require a lot of bodies, but you can't just have a body. It has to be capable and able. You have to have more apprenticeships. You have to bring shop classes back to the high schools. You have to, from a maintenance perspective, have people that actually understand both what they're seeing, what they're learning, and using their technologies, along with those guys with beards, those gals and guys that are going to ride off into the sunset, being next to them and imparting tribal knowledge onto them. And it all comes together. You can't manufacture a thing if you don't maintain the things that create the things we manufacture.
That made sense. Don't worry. That made sense.
Do you ever get to see, when you're in these environments, any maintenance things happening? Have you ever been around and in these plants and these environments where people are talking about, like, oh yeah, we got a work order, or yeah, we have this work order management system, or ERP? Ever get exposed to that?
So I'm going to answer this in two answers, if that's all right, because I feel like it's two. To answer your second question, yes, I think I've been into a lot of shops, thanks to some of the folks I've been working with lately. In fact, I have Sonny, the CEO of Fulcrum, coming on to my show, onto the Gunn. It's not the Gunn Show anymore. It's the Machinist Club
No.
podcast. Onto the Machinist Club podcast. I work really closely with Datanomics. I've worked with some of the other folks out there, and so my responsibility is to understand how all of this works and get the stories from the inside scoop from the stories who are finding success with it, right? So, yeah, I would say regularly, Greg, I get wonderful feedback of people who are understanding better the intricacies of machine maintenance and what's involved and what the future of their shop can look like if they pay attention to this maintenance, right? But I want to step back to what you said previously of, do I think that the industry is getting more acknowledgement and more respect, and are the kids jumping in? And I think you said Mike Rowe as well. I'm a perpetual optimist. Anyone who knows me knows that. I am going to find the good in almost every situation. That is how I am wired, based to tons of failures and falling down and needing to be that way, or I might not even be on this planet right now because there were so many struggles. I'm not sure if that's 100% true. I think the optimists want it to be. I think those with big voices say it is, because it inspires hope and it inspires us to continue towards the path of success and talking about it. Are the parents convinced of these children yet? I would say no. Are the guidance counselors recommending the trades in equality with university? I would say no. I haven't spent a lot of time with those guidance counselors, but I'm still willing to bet there's an agenda-driven responsibility to send as many people as they can into $100,000 worth of debt at a university. So, am I an optimist? And have I seen more respect? Have I seen, let's say I'm laying in bed at night and I'm scrolling through reels, which I rarely do, and I see optimism about the trades and people talking about the most successful people on the planet, thanks to AI, will be the electricians, because who else is going to work on this stuff? Electricians is part of the trade. Do I see that? Yeah. Do I see it in my everyday life in my two daughters that I have? One of them being, going into high school right now, or her surrounding peers understanding how any of this works or how any of it's important, or are the guidance counselors and teachers offering ways to graduate high school while understanding how all of this side works, like they are in Switzerland, where when you're 20 years old, you can have a machinist degree and you understand it all because 300,000 students go to a 1 week exposition where any career that you want, any without bias, is available for you to research. I don't see that stuff here. Like when I was in Brazil, there's 80 million people that went through Sinai since 1942, I want to say. They average, I want to say, I'm going to get this wrong, 2 to 3 million people per year that go through their school system. Have I seen that in the US? No, I have not. So do I feel like we still have a long way to go? And those of us who keep repeating ourselves and standing on a pedestal, we should continue to do that. I do believe that. Has there been some change? Yeah, I'm an optimist. And I'd like to believe that the folks out there saying that there is big change is true. But until I really see it truly taking shape here in the US, I'm not going to fully believe it. I'm a little bit of a pessimist in that way. It's a very rare thing. I just think we have a lot of growth. We have a lot of opportunity to continue inspiring people to have equality amongst the workforce when we understand the importance of the trades in general, STEM and STEAM. This is so, so, so incredibly important. So that's the two-part answer to your question. I hope that's been detailed enough to kind of connect with what you're talking about.
I think not only is it detailed enough, but it makes me think it's more important that we continue to take that step back and kind of see how that map, if you will, is filling in, because we all can sometimes live in a bit of a bubble. Sometimes it's a big bubble, sometimes it's a narrow, small bubble, and we may think we see what reflects the reality of the world or the nation, and that's not always the case. And when it comes to the educational opportunities and the career opportunities, I think the parents play a big role in influencing that. For me, some of the things that make me really optimistic is when I hear about a niece or a nephew or my best friend's kids, maybe he's going to the military, and I say, hey, so why are you doing that? And he's like, oh man, I want to work on helicopters. And I'm just going, man, that is music to my ears. Sure, I don't want him getting deployed and hurt, but he's going to learn how to work on helicopters and aircraft. He'll have a job for life. And when something goes bad in this world, right, like when we lose all of our power, you're talking about electricians and people that are maybe electrical engineers and all that. Those are the people we're going to need. So we just got to keep not only chirping about it, but it has to have a lot of context. It can't be just an echo chamber of noise that doesn't make sense. So I am very appreciative of how you answered that, because we have to maintain some healthy skepticism around it so that we don't take our foot off the gas, because there is possibility and we can be optimistic about that, and we have to keep pushing it. Let's switch gears a little bit.
You're the boss.
You have mentioned that you might have a story or two. We just need one that's kind of crazy and unique as it relates to whether it's your travels abroad or locally here in North America, that would be of interest. Like, maybe what I'm thinking is, were you ever in an environment where something crazy went down? Like there was some kind of an emergency, something really, really funny, or something that just kind of made you take a step back in awe of something you learned on the spot? Anything like that?
Well, I can honestly be very grateful to say nothing extreme within a shop has ever happened. Nothing like you've just described. I mean, I personally have smashed a machine or two. I've seen a few get smashed. I think the worst I've ever seen when it comes to that side of things is a spindle flying through, a tool holder flying through plexiglass, or a piece of material flying through plexiglass, things like that, right? But nothing as you just described where it's like, oh my gosh, the building's on fire, Have I seen videos of it or had other people tell stories? Yeah. Nothing to the normal fire drill. No, I don't think, honestly, Greg, I don't think I have any chaotic stories in the machining world like that. I've seen, uh, you know, diversity around the world and really unique applications of how things are done and expectations of what I think I'm going to know from the outside of the shop versus the inside of the shop and things like that. But no, thank goodness, Greg, I have never been in some sort of emergency situation when it comes to machining. Every emergency situation I've ever been in is because of my own doing while trying to hike a mountain I'm not supposed to do by myself, or figure out how to do something in the middle of nowhere because I want to explore and nobody's with me because I travel by myself so often. But on the machine
Yeah.
siding side of things, no, I'm very grateful. I've never experienced something so dramatic. Have you?
Well, I'm gonna put a twist on it. I'm gonna add a little bit of an extra layer to the question
Okay.
because I think your answer might change. I'm not positive. I'm gonna take a shot at this.
Okay.
So, what if it was a complete line shutdown that cost $1 million a minute? Have you been around when something failed and you saw a line go down and you got to see people, or you typically have been in these environments when they're just running smooth? All right.
Yeah, the machine shops that I worked in never had automation. You know, we were talking, I think I finished actually being in a machine shop around 2012, 2013. I mean, and then I'm invited in during the best possible situations, right? Everyone's cleaned up. They want to tell their story, or as a consultant, even, you know, we're going over projects, but worst case scenario, we again, smash something. No, I have never, fortunately, and fortunately, I've never been where the entire thing shut down. Thank goodness. I couldn't
All
imagine
right.
how stressful that might be. Have you experienced that?
Well, I'd have to go back pretty far from my own personal experience being in an environment where there was a disruption or a certain, say, for example, production area of a plant that gets shut down or there was a machine failure. I'd probably have to go back to my teen years or maybe my 20s, and no stories of, like a catastrophic event or anything like that. I've had some where I've been in an environment where somebody lost a part of their body on a machine,
Oof. Oof.
um, and things like that. And I don't want to get into those too much, but this is why. So the reason I had asked the question really is I always like to find ways to kind of highlight the advantages when you're in what we might call a reliable environment that features great maintenance that creates that reliability, but a lot of safety, and all those things are connected for the outcome. So we want our machines running as often as possible, producing as much as possible in the right way, highest quality, but we want the people, the operators, to be safe in the operation of those machines through proper operation. And we don't want them to get hurt because something wasn't checked, or maybe a bandsaw was the blade was loose. That's how stuff like that happens. And I'm just kind of imagining some of those things that I've seen. More so, I was interested in, what really happens when a line goes down and you lose production for minutes or hours. I've heard lots and lots of stories from the people that I host on the podcast. I've got a lot of maintenance and reliability professionals that I'm blessed to call friends, and they are real deal, and they talk about some of these things where we can't even talk about the company because that wouldn't be right, where there's nonsensical things happening from a maintenance perspective and people are ignoring things and they're running around firefighting, not literal flames, but like the invisible flames of disruption, and they can't get ahead of it. So I was just doing a little fishing expedition there to see if we would come up with anything crazy that happened. I remember one thing you talked about, I think it was 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half, where I believe it was in India, and you have these machines, but the floors are actual dirt.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Again, nothing was shut down. I mean, it was only like one or two machines in this small machine shop, but yeah, they were on
Sure.
dirt floors, and I was shocked that you could get anything of value off of those machines. I mean, I just couldn't imagine trying to create thousands to micron. It was interesting. It was interesting to see how people work in different environments around the world, what their complications are, and how they manage to, in most places, turn chicken shit into chicken salad.
Hey, it's amazing to see that stuff. So I want to know, is Japan the most absolute dialed in environment you've ever been in when you're walking a facility and watching them do what they do? Or is it another region of the world?
I think that there are several ties. Maybe some will be a surprise, and maybe not. But I think Japan is certainly in there. Their culture, their history, their detail, the quality. I mean, all of it. It's what Japan's known for. I mean, from their households to the way they carry themselves to the respect that they have for one another and the environment, and yeah, it's up there. You can add to that list Korea. Korea is pretty. I mean, I'll probably offend some Japanese folks or some Korean folks because they kind of have some headbutting on the two cultures. But it's almost a mirror of each other. I mean, when I go there, I'm eating similar foods. I'm drinking similar sakis. I'm seeing similar machine shops. You know, I'm there's a lot of similarities, and I hope that doesn't offend anyone. But from a Western world person, let's say, I find a lot of similarities between the two. Switzerland and Germany, I think, are very high on that list as well. I think there's a lot of quality that comes out of there. Very streamlined. It's important. What I learned, interestingly enough, about Switzerland is that they don't really have any natural resources, so everything they get comes from other parts of the world. Then they perfect it, and then they ship it out. And I find that to be that's where quality comes from, right? Is if you don't have any of your own resources, you rely on perfecting resources from elsewhere, and I find that interesting. The last on that, well, not necessarily the last, but another one that has probably been demonized, certainly in the Western world for a long time, but you'd be shocked if you walked in, is China. China has done a 180-degree spin over the last 20 to 30 years. And now in many places of China, you walk in any parts of either the machine shop or the cities, much like Japan and Korea, you step into what would feel like 50 years in the future in the US. That too will probably offend some Western world people. But when you see it and you know it, you experience it, it's tough to bite your tongue and not say what's going on, right? And I hope it's inspiration for people here in the US to really pay attention to the changes we make. Now, I'm also going to put the US on that list because if you walk into some of your higher end facilities, the ones that we all know about, your automobile industries, things like that, you're also going to find leading technology from around the world. You walk into your medical device facilities and everyone's in a spacesuit and cliche, but eat off the floor and all that stuff that you might not expect from a machine shop. The US is in that conversation as well. You can't be second in the world in manufacturing and not still have that quality, right? But
Oh yeah.
these are things that we have to pay attention to. So, yeah, when I think about places that I go around the world that are memorable in what you just described as statistically more shops being how we've described it, statistically being, elevated. I I hope I'm not leaving anyone out, but those are the ones that cross my mind without any prep work of us doing questions ahead of time. Those are the ones that cross my mind right away.
Yeah, and I think we're not necessarily trying to get this right. We're trying to kind of foster or inspire critical thinking. We want to talk about, not just North America, but other regions of the world, because there's opportunities to learn and potentially emulate. And the whole idea is, now we have local economies and we have global economy. And um, when you see things that represent some form of excellence, it's important to talk about it, not because we want to create, anybody, being butthurt or whatever.
That's not the goal.
No, we want to just talk about this whole concept of, manufacturing, your journeys, the things that you've seen. I think it's refreshing to get these stories. This is no prep. We just run and gun, no pun intended, or maybe a pun intended.
There's some pun intended.
And
I know it.
yeah. Well, the concept for me is low prep, no prep, because I want real conversations as if we bumped into one another somewhere out on the circuit, at a coffee shop, whatever it might be. I know for me, when I look at different manufacturing environments, I don't necessarily know what I'm seeing compared to what you see or other people that I know the way they see it, but I still see it. I've been in areas that have high security, that have extreme cleanliness, like you said, being able to eat off the floor. I had the opportunity earlier this year to tour a million square foot facility that manufactures some pretty important vehicles, and the things I got to see and how dialed in it was. I mean, it took so long to tour the facility and you get to see the whole thing. I mean, it's all fascinating to me. I think it's really good stuff and people need to know about it. Now, I want to get back to two things: the Worldwide Machinist and the podcast, so that people can just get a little flavor directly from you as to what both of those things are and why they should potentially get involved and follow.
We've talked a lot about the idea and concept earlier in the show, Greg, of just how you and I, we kind of both navigate ourselves, right? It's we tell stories. We want to do it from an agnostic viewpoint. We want to create awareness and respect for an invisible industry, and that's kind of what the Worldwide Machinist is. I think I'm a very unique individual on both the personality side, but also on the capability side, that folks who want to see what not just one country is doing or one perspective that of a machine shop, or whatever it might be. We said it at the beginning of this show. How the hell do I travel 250 to 300 days a year around the world with jet lag and not being sick and all this stuff? And it's a great joy for anyone who joins us on this channel to be able to see what a shop looks like in whatever said country. We've dropped a lot of them, right? I've been to over 80 countries at this point. 50 of those, I think, for manufacturing, and the other, 30 plus, just for pleasure and fun, bouncing around. But I think that's unique. I think, and I hope that when people join the channel, they're looking forward to seeing the uniqueness of what can be accomplished from different perspectives and creativity from different places around the world. I can't think of anyone else in our industry that travels as much as I do to share everyone's story from an unbiased, agnostic perspective, and continues to do so, right? Most people share it from the comfort of their own facility. Most people travel 5 or 6 times a year. The fact that I already know in 2026 that I'm headed to Spain, Italy, Germany, Switzerland, Brazil, Mexico, England, Taiwan, Japan, Korea. I already know this for 2026. These are cultures that everybody wants to see. So that's what the channel embodies. And I'm a strange, weird person, man. I worked in a machine shop. I worked with engineers. I'm willing to say I don't know. I was, strangely enough, a hip-hop artist and almost a professional soccer player. So I have the courage to be on camera and help tell people's stories. And I'm not embarrassed when I don't know something or if I sound like an idiot, which allows the other people to kind of laugh along with me. That's important, to remain human and transparent and real. So in combination with seeing the world, but also understanding a lot of the technology, being able to ask questions, and also be a little bit of an idiot from time to time, this is why I invite people to join us on the channel. We just want to do good. We just want to help. We just want to be of service. The Gunn Show podcast has recently switched over, as I'm now running my own thing and doing my own thing, has switched over to the Machinist Club podcast. Now, the Machinist Club is interesting. The shirt I'm wearing right now, it's the logo of the Worldwide Machinist and the Machinist Club. We have hats, shirts, mugs, jewelry, oddly enough, like necklaces made of stone and stainless, and they're really cool. We have these things, and the motto for the Machinist Club is, we machine the unseen that moves the world. For me, it's important, again, it's just another avenue to help machinists be proud of who they are. And if they don't want to say anything, if they're introverted, if they just want to go to work, the shirt says it all for them. The logo on the back. The logo on the back can be the flag of the country you're a machinist in, or it can be the globe like the one I wear. But it simply says, we machine the unseen that moves the world. If you're walking through an airport, through the grocery store, whatever it might be, it's very clear what a machinist is in that sense. So for people who are unaware of why it's made, this shirt helps. And so for me, the Machinist Club and the Worldwide Machinist is all about giving a voice to people who deserve it, awareness to an industry that deserves it. And this goes back to the very beginning of our conversation. It's why I invest so much time, my partner's times, my resources, to continue to be the best version of myself that I can be, to be the best giver of knowledge to anyone who joins us, and just continue to do good by an industry that's treated me so well. If I step back and I just, give you the elevator pitch, which I think you and I have done before, I barely graduated high school. Everyone knew that I didn't care about school. I got kicked out of 3 colleges. I got into manufacturing completely on accident. I was a lifeguard as a teenager. I worked as a manager at Pizza Hut in college before I got kicked out. I did door-to-door sales for a little bit. I worked road construction as a traffic foreman for a little bit. Machining's helped me see the world. It's helped me be very proud of what we make and what we do. And in the very least I can do is give back and help people. Then I'm doing the right thing. And that's why I've now stepped into my own role, running my own company, doing my own thing, having the flexibility and creativity that I want to, if everything goes well, and I keep my fingers crossed for this, Greg, if everything goes well, some of the so-called competition that I've had over the last few years will slowly take down the bricks one by one to remove that wall, and we can all work together. Because if we don't, we might be in trouble. And if I can be brave enough to step away and have the courage to say, I'm going to do this on my own, and I hope this allows you to see that I want to work with all of you, and together we can make a difference. I hope that helps. And so that's kind of the summary of what's currently happening in my life and what I'm trying to create.
All right, man. So I didn't have to ask. You included it, man, because people need to understand that message. I'm a big fan of this concept where even when we compete, we can still work together and get somewhere together. I'm not saying everybody wins a trophy or anything like that. I think that's actually really important to say. Man, Tony Gunn, I appreciate you just in what you do, all the things you've done, the content that you put out. I appreciate you making time for me today to come here on CMMS Radio and just talk a little bit about this new phase of your journey. And I'm looking forward to watching your journey and your continued success. And I know for a fact we're going to do this again, man. So Tony Gunn, everybody find him on LinkedIn. It's Tony Gunn. That's with 2 N's, Tony, and then Gunn, Gunn. Find this guy. And it's the Worldwide Machinist. And check out his podcast as well. Brother, thanks for being on CMMS Radio.
Anytime. I'll do it tomorrow, the next day. You tell me when you want me, buddy. We'll talk again. You let me know.
Thanks, brother. Did you find this episode helpful? Please send us some feedback, suggest a topic, or ask a question. Reach out to CMMS Radio if you need a co-pilot on your CMMS project. Visit CMMSradio.com and use the What's on Your Mind link. Thank you for tuning in to CMMS Radio, your resource for all things CMMS, from selection to implementation, to help you make better choices, learn from industry experts, and have a successful CMMS journey.